And if you really want to be recorded, then don't show your face. Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. Let's get started. Yeah, I have a couple people texting me saying their Wi-Fi is not working. Okay, so I'm going to record it and then I'll post it too. Well, hi, everyone. How are you all doing? Let's take a minute just to check in and connect. How are you feeling? You guys can unmute yourselves, by the way. Y'all feeling okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to talk for a second. How are all of your assignments going? Are you doing everything? Are you keeping up? Are you falling behind? You getting impulsive? You staying up late? Eating too much food? What are you doing?
Too late.
Staying up too late? Me too.
More like 2 a.m. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
I know. I was being really bad. I was staying up till 4 or 5, just like playing games and just hanging out. And then I thought, this is not. Yeah. And then I thought this is just not good. So I was getting lazy. I was getting unmotivated. I was getting a little depressed. Because honestly, guys, sleep alone will do that. If you don't get enough sleep, it'll ruin your whole day. You know. So.
Did you win, Mr. O?
Oh yeah, I won a few times last night. Actually, got first and second place.
Let's go,
That's
my
right.
man.
That's
Proud
right.
of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
What did you win?
I didn't win anything. I mean, I won a game, but I don't get anything for it. So.
Oh, I thought it was like the lottery or something.
No, I wish. So, do you guys like my hair or what? What do you think? I'm going back to
You're
the.
cute.
Thank you. I'm going back to the '60s.
I don't notice anything.
Oh yeah.
The same.
You don't notice? Look how long my hair is.
It looks like you dyed it blonde.
I did not. When my hair grows out and I go on a lot of like runs and hikes, this happens. The sun just starts to. When I had long hair, have you guys seen this? When I had long hair.
That's crazy, dude. I show them a picture.
They've not seen it? Okay, hold on. Let's see if I can find it.
On Cleveland's Instagram.
Is it?
Yeah.
Go check it out. It's really funny. Well, here I'll just show you. But I'm going to show you because look at how blonde my hair was.
Like a girl.
You look like a girl.
I am a girl.
Well, you don't know that. Don't assume your own gender.
I do know that. What?
Okay. All right.
This is what happens when everybody's late.
Well, I don't know. I just want to connect. I want to catch up a little bit. You know.
This is fun. It's chill.
Yeah.
It's nice to relax. I like the background music. That's beautiful. Is that you, Justin?
No, it's actually not.
Who's playing?
I have no clue.
That's me.
I do it.
Oh, is it you, Parishi?
Helena.
Mr. O.
What?
Oh, Helena.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see the screens. I just hear the voices because I'm not on it. Okay, that sounds great, Helena.
Thank you.
Okay, y'all want to check it out? You ready for Chris Crawler 2016?
Hell yeah.
Oh,
of
baby.
course. Always.
Oh, baby.
16 was only 4.
I think it was 2016 or 17. It's hard to. I mean, how do I make it full
That's
screen?
only 4 years ago.
Oh, 2006. Sorry, not 2016. Long time ago. 2006. Okay, let's see if I can.
Yes, the far off year of 2016.
2006, baby.
Yes.
Wait, Bro. what? Oh my god! Wait.
What?
Woohoo!
Yes.
We're having fun, huh?
Oh my god.
Wait, that does not look like you.
That does not look like you, Mr.
That is me, 100%. This is my buddy Cody. I actually cut it out. Let's see if I can. I had the whole.
Where's Cody?
Wait,
Oh
if you
my
guys go to
God.
if you guys go to his MySpace, there's a picture with him with like 3 girls. I'm not lying.
You know, it's funny because I've been wanting to take that down forever, but I can't get into my MySpace, and they
It's
won't.
Tempered Steel. Go on Tempered Steel. You see all
Don't
the
do it.
pictures.
Don't do it. But I will show you. You know what, guys? Since you've all been so good and since you showed up, you get the extra bonus today. You ready for the bonus?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, yes, always ready.
And for those who haven't seen When Lightning Strikes, you can go do that too if you want. It's pretty fun.
Oh, is this a recording of your
No,
other metal songs?
I'm not going to show the whole video. I'm not going to show the video. I'm just going to go to my albums, my rock album. All right, everyone. This is me from the metal bands. Y'all ready?
So you're going to cook breakfast.
Yeah.
See if I can get it. All right. You are seeing something that few students have seen. Get ready. These are just pictures from 2006 and my
Is that
bands.
Coachella?
What? What?
This is us.
Oh my god. What?
That's me.
Oh my goodness.
Wasn't it hot wearing all black in like the desert?
Wasn't I cool?
Again.
Let's see what else we got. There we go.
What the heck?
That was me in college. I was a little fatter. Look, a little chubby.
Thick.
This is us. That's me.
Oh my god.
The hair
Yeah.
just goes whoosh.
Do you guys ever know how cool I was? Did you ever have any idea?
I don't know if this counts as cool.
Let's see if I can find one of my favorite pictures. Look at that power posture, that power pose.
With
See
the
if
guy
I-
beside you.
What?
This is a good one. Look at this one. We are killing it.
Quite
Yeah, that's back in the
clearly.
day, everyone. Chris Crawler. This was a band called Cyrus. I was also in a band. There you go. Hello. These are my friends.
Oh my. Well.
I was also in a band called Nightcrawler.
Look at
Check
that.
out how long this hair is. Look at it.
It's really funny looking
Cut
at
it
that and
though.
then your profile picture.
But
Wait,
isn't
why
that
did
funny?
you cut it, Mr.
I
Did
cut
you sell it?
I did. Well, I gave it to Locks of Love.
Oh,
Oh,
snaps.
okay.
Snaps,
Yeah.
Mr. O.
Yeah.
Someone's
So-
wearing Chris Crawler's hair.
Yeah. Someone is wearing Chris Crawler's hair. You're right. So, but look
Oh,
how blonde
dang.
it got. Look how blonde it got. In the summer, I just always used to
It
get
looks
really
like the
blonde.
witch in the background.
I think
of
that was
the
a
same
Halloween
picture.
party.
Did you just swish it?
Oh, so this is the full
Whoa,
picture.
dang.
This is the full picture. Look how cool we are. There's graffiti.
So
These two are trying not to smile. We're so cool. They're all still good buddies. I talked to all of them except for this guy. I don't know where he is, but I just talked to these guys not too long ago.
This is such a 2020 like. This is such a 2006 picture.
Oh yeah, these are great. These are great.
Yikes.
So that was my life. This is the other band, Nightcrawler. Check out this guy's pants. Woohoo! Look at that. We got leopard print.
High school didn't even go to.
Mr. O, I feel like you're the type of person like 2006 to say RAR XD.
No, I never said that. No. Me playing the keys with some water bottles. This is our first show ever. Look at that hair. And look at I had the lyrics taped to a mic stand because I couldn't remember the lyrics. And I didn't know what a music stand was. That was 2005, I think. 2004. Anyway, there you go. Little fun. Little bit of fun. That was my life. Welcome to my life. So yeah, all of that to say, for some reason, when my hair gets long, it starts to get blonde on the tips. So I'm
naturally?
excited to see how much longer this
Same.
before I'm allowed to get a haircut.
Wait,
All
it
right.
just does that naturally?
Yeah, I haven't done anything. All right, are y'all ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I forgot that I was actually doing a recording this whole time. Okay, well that's all I'm gonna record.
Awkward.
So
Hey,
All right.
cut.
yeah, anyway, I'll have to cut that later or not. So let's hop in, everyone. Let's do a quick recap, and I think you're gonna start to enjoy where we're headed here because we are starting to move really close. You've got all the knowledge you need, almost, to be able to write melodies, to be able to compose chord progressions with phrases, and to really make music, right? Because without phrasing, without melody, without understanding chord progressions, you're just guessing. You don't really know what's going to sound good. You don't really know what's going to work. And so you're sort of composing in the dark, so to speak. And so I want to help you not do that. So I have it laid out, and we're actually on track as long as we cover everything we need to cover. So I've got a couple things. Let me start with a quick recap. This is hurting my elbow. Okay. Quick recap of just a couple things, and then we're going to hop into the new stuff. Let me share my screen. Actually, before I do, and don't use your notes, just see if you can do this off the top of your head. Let me get you guys on my screen, and I'm actually going to do a, there we go. And I don't want this. Close. Okay. I want you on half my screen and then my notes on the other half. Okay, there we go. All right, so quick recap. Oh yeah, this is way better. Now I can see both of you. Why haven't I done this in the past? All right, and try and do this off the top of your head, all right? So I can see you all, so you can raise a hand, or you can do, if you can't hit the raise hand feature, that'd be even better because I don't see most of your faces. You're not showing yourself because you're embarrassed that you haven't showered in 3 days. Okay, so here we go. What is the order? Here's a question for you. What is the order of smallest to largest units in music? The first one's a motif. Do you guys remember the other three that we talked about? Aitana.
Yeah, wait. Okay, so first it's a motif, and then it's phrase, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then period, and then melody.
That's right. So periods make up two. So basically, a melody ends up being all of that together. Okay. So you've got a motif that exists, and then that expands to a phrase, which is usually about 2 to 4 measures. And then a period, which is 4 to 8 measures, because that's 2 phrases, right? And then 2 periods make a full song, and that's where the melody is complete. Okay. Great. So if you keep thinking in those micro to macro terms, it's going to really help you to put everything in context. Otherwise, stuff just gets lost and the phrasing gets confusing. So a few more questions. Do it off the top of your head here. What is, okay, so we have 2 phrases, right? Phrase 1, phrase 2, and then phrase 3, phrase 4, and they follow a pattern. It's blank and then blank, blank and then blank. One starts with an A, one starts with a C. Can you guys tell me the terms? Okay, we'll go with Chloe.
Antecedent and then consequent.
Exactly. So phrase 1 and phrase 2. Now this is not all music. Again, this is just one of 1,000 ways to do it. But in the classical periods, this was how they did it 90% of the time, which is why we're studying it this way. Okay, so this is a good basis for you as you're learning to write music. Later you can break the rules. Right now, let's stick with the form. So phrase 1 is the antecedent. Happy birthday to you. Phrase 2 is a consequent. Happy birthday to you. You see that? And the first one sounds incomplete, and the second one sounds complete, right? You wouldn't end a song on da 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 da. That note's not a final note, right? What is that? Da. That's T. T, do. You wouldn't end a song on T. Sounds funny. The next phrase ends on what? Happy birthday to you. That's do. Do. So the first phrase, the antecedent, sets it up, but it is not final. Doesn't have closure to it. Second phrase gives us some closure. All right, so there's this constant going back and forth between incomplete and complete. Great. Okay, so that's what those 2 phrases are made of, antecedent and consequent, and then antecedent and consequent again. Each period has both of those. All right. Can you remember phrase 1 usually ends on what kind of a cadence? Because it's incomplete. Can you remember what is that kind of cadence that phrase 1 usually ends on? Let's hear from someone new. And I am working on trying to get more engagement. I know it's hard in Zoom classes. I can't look you in the eye. I can't do all of that. So I by the end of this session, I would like everyone to have answered at least 1 question. So get it out of the way now if you need to. Okay. Fiona.
Is it a half cadence?
You're exactly right. Half cadence. And why is it that we end on the half cadence? Because it sounds
like in a dominant chord, I remember. Something like that.
Yeah, dominant chord, and it sounds like it's going somewhere. It sounds incomplete, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have my keyboard here. Let me see if I can. That right there. Can you all hear the keyboard?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so listen. I'm going to see if I can do this. If you listen, right, the first phrase ends on a half cadence. So here's your do. There's do, right? Sing down and find sol. If that's do, where's sol? You can unmute yourself.
So.
Thank you. Do, ti, la, sol. Everyone sing that. Ready, go. Do, ti, la,
sol.
Yes, that right there is sol. A half cadence is on sol, right? So listen to what you hear. That right there is sol. So what I'm listening for is I'm listening for that bass note, and it tells me, oh, I'm on the 5 chord, right? Da 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 sol. So if you're on the 5 chord and that's a cadence, it's a half cadence. But because we're on the dominant chord, it doesn't sound complete. It wants to go somewhere else. Da 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 da. Back to 1. Da 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 da. Do you hear that? So again, it's half cadence, and then the second part, which is the consequent, phrase 2, we usually end on a tonic function chord, 1 or 6 most commonly. Does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up. We're just retracing our steps. Great. Okay, so so the phrase 1, antecedent, ends on a half cadence because it's incomplete. Phrase 2 finishes it out. It's the consequent, usually ends on a tonic function chord that's 1 or 6 because it's more complete. But it's not fully complete. A lot of songs only feel a little bit complete there, right? They don't feel fully complete until phrase 4, which makes sense. It's the end. And that usually ends with a perfect authentic cadence, which is root position 5-1, sounds really complete. We like the way that sounds, especially in classical music. Okay, phrase 3 is the same as phrase 1, and then phrase 4 again is similar to phrase 2, just more complete, like I just said. Okay, great. Here we go. Next quiz question here for you. By the way, you will have a quiz on this next week, okay? So this is probably going to be another matching. It seems to be the easiest way for me to make the quizzes and to grade them. Have you guys had any problems with the matching quizzes? Most of you have done pretty well. Is it okay if we do the matching?
It's pretty okay. Good.
Pretty simple, right? I'm trying to keep it simple so that people don't get lost and confused and all that stuff, all right? So, great. So now let's talk about a period. What is a period? Can someone answer the question, what is a period? I see Caesar's hand. Go for it, Caesar.
Oh, cool. A period is 2 phrases together.
Two phrases together. And you can either and you can either have a parallel period or a contrasting period. Can someone explain what the difference is between a parallel period and a contrasting period? Someone I've not heard from. Remember, everyone's going to be answering today. Appreciate.
A parallel period is when the 2 phrases, they sound like when it sounds similar, like the next one. And a contrasting period is where it could be, it's like it sounds different for both of them. Like both of them sound different.
Right, they both sound totally different, right? So, everyone, happy birthday. Parallel or contrasting? Da 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 da.
It's parallel.
Parallel.
It is definitely parallel because not every note has to be the same. As long as the beginning notes are the same, it's probably a parallel period. Okay, so same with da 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 da. Phrase 1, phrase 2. Da 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 da. Slight variation at the end. That's the only difference, which means it's a parallel period because they start with the same notes. Make sense? Give me a thumbs up. Okay. Great. Thank you. Awesome. So that's the parallel period. The contrasting period is really anything that's not that. So if it's not parallel, it's going to be contrasting. Make sense? Those are the only 2 options for the periods, which is just a combination of 2 phrases. Okay, are those questions? Appreciate Mori, I see hands. Are those questions?
Oh no, that was just an answer question.
Okay, got it. Okay, and then repeated parallel periods. What is that? It's exactly what it sounds like. What is a repeated parallel period? Kind of hard to say. Minso. Oh, I see your hand, Minso, but I think you're muted.
Oh.
It is two parallel periods that repeat exactly with no changes.
Exactly, right. So when you basically, if you just do the same thing twice, with really no changes at all, it is a repeated parallel period, which is what it's just what it sounds like. Then a double period is where you have 4 phrases and the last one is the only one with a perfect authentic cadence. Okay, great, awesome. Are there any questions on periods and phrases? We're moving on from that. We good?
It seems okay to me.
Okay, it's not too hard. Awesome. I feel like it's a pretty simple concept, relatively speaking. You guys have covered much more difficult stuff than this. So let's keep moving. All right, going now to chord progressions. We talked yesterday, just the last 15 minutes. Do you guys remember I just gave you a little introduction to the 3 kinds of chord functions? The 3 kinds of chord functions. Can someone tell me the first kind of chord function? The chords that sound like home. Let's get some, Ben, I've not heard from you today.
You have the tonic functions, which is the one in the 6.
Exactly right. The 1 in the 6 chord could be a major 1 or a minor 1, depends on the key. Can be a major 6 or a minor 6, also depends on the key and the function. You've got tonic function chords, so that's what you're talking about, right? These are the home sounding chords. These are the ones that sound complete, right? When I play this, I don't know what this is, guys, but it's a big ball of Velcro, and it's on my feet, and it was annoying me, so I just want to let you know. Okay, so when you play this, happy birthday to you, half cadence, it sounds incomplete, we're going somewhere, because that's the 5 chord. That's phrase 1, antecedent. Here's the consequent. Happy birthday to, sorry, you. That was 5 to 1, right? So what we ended on right there was a tonic function chord, which is why it sounds like home. And then we go on. Another chord. There it is. And it ends on a home chord. It ends on a tonic chord. Now, what if I throw in a deceptive cadence? Listen to this. Oh, it's not so happy birthday. Now it's sad birthday, isn't it? So for that consequent, it doesn't have a 1 tonic function. It has a 6 tonic function. Still sounds like it still sounds okay, right? That doesn't sound bad. It's just not what you're used to, right? We're used to that being a happier, more uplifting major chord. But you could put a 6 there, and that would just be what we call a chord substitution. I'm substituting the 1 for the 6. Now, do you guys remember why I can substitute those 2 chords? We talked about it at the very end. Chloe.
It's because they share 2 common notes. They just have a different first or last note.
Exactly right. That was wonderfully said. So it's because they share 2 common notes. So they're already kind of the same chord, or at least in the same chord structure. And so you can really replace the 1 for the 6, and either one works. So just listen again. Here is your 1, da, 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 5, half cadence, da, 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 deceptive cadence, da, 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 da. And that 6 totally works because it's not really the final cadence, right? It's the second phrase as opposed to the 4th one. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So it can feel like it's not done yet because you're not really done until you get to that 4th phrase. So as you're writing, I want you to feel free during that 2nd phrase. Throw in a deceptive cadence if you want. Throw in that 6th chord. Okay, it totally works. Great. So thank you, Ben. Our first function chord is a tonic function chord, which is what we just went over, the 1 and the 6. Okay, and they are interchangeable most of the time. Number 2, what is the second kind of chord, everyone? Matthew, go for it.
Subdominant.
Say it again.
Subdominant.
Close. We don't call it subdominant, even though it sometimes is the 4, it sometimes is the subdominant. We call them something slightly different. Do you remember? Instead of sub, we use a different prefix. Fiona, do you remember?
Yes, wasn't it predominant?
Yeah, predominant. And The reason, now again, Matthew, you're partly right, because the subdominant chord is a predominant chord, but not all predominant chords are subdominants, if that makes sense. So we call it predominant because all it means is any chord that typically goes to the dominant. This is one of those chords. So this is a predominant chord, and this is how chord progressions usually move. Tonic function, 1 or 6, home base. You move away from home, just like life, remember? So you start home when you're young, and then you move away from home, and then you create your own home as you go on. So it's home, leave home, come back to home, right? And so you start with a tonic function, then you go to predominant, right? And what are the predominant chords, anyone? Do you know what the predominant chords are? Again, everyone's going to answer, so let's see. If you need to check your notes, it's fine. Mia.
Sorry, I said it, but I was muted. 4-2, right?
Yeah, the
Okay.
2 and the 4, okay? So the 2 and the 4 chord are the predominant functions, okay? And I'm going to play that for you real quick. I'm going to play a dominant function chord. I'll just kind of make it up, and then I'll play a predominant function, okay? But before I do that, let's go over the third kind of chord. The third kind of chord is a dominant function chord, okay? Do you all have that in your notes? You got that? Great. So the third kind of chord is a dominant function chord. And dominant chords go where? Where do all dominant chords lead?
To dominant.
We only briefly talked about it yesterday, so it's fine if you didn't totally memorize it. Chloe.
Back to the tonic.
That's it. Because remember, always be thinking about my life analogy, right? You always go back home. It doesn't mean you go back to your first home necessarily, but you go back to some feeling of home. And so it's tonic function. This is the order. This is how you make a chord progression. You start with a tonic function. You move to a predominant function, 2 or 4. Then you move to a dominant function, 5 or 7. Then you move back to a tonic function, 1. And let me show you what that sounds like. I'm going to choose one of each of those. So I'm choosing 4 chords. Actually, why don't you choose them with me? I'm going to start on the 1. What should I do for the predominant function? Which chord do you want to hear, the 2 or the 4? Ben, which
4.
one do you want? 4. Okay, Caesar wants to hear the 4. Ben, which dominant function do you want to hear, 5 or 7?
7.
Okay, so we'll make it interesting. So we're doing 1, 4, 7, and then I'll go back home. Okay? So just listen, I'm just going to play 4 chords. That's it. Just so you get an idea what this sounds like. Okay? So 1, 4, 7, 1. You get it? It sounds like it's done. It sounds totally complete because we follow the rules. Let's change it up. I'm going to go 1, 2, 5, 1. Make sense? You hear this all the time, by the way, in classic rock, right? Think about, well, shake it up, baby, now, shake it up, baby, twist and shout, bum, 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 bum. What am I playing? I'm playing 1, 4, 5, and then back to 1, dun, dun, 4, 4, 5. Does that make sense? You guys have heard that your whole lives. You've heard it your whole lives, and you just don't realize that all these chords are really doing, all these songs are really doing, is they're going from 1 to some kind of predominant chord to some kind of dominant chord back to 1. Not every song ever, but it's really, really common to do that. Okay? Great. Are there any questions on how that cycle works? Does everyone understand the 3 tonic, or does everyone understand the 3 functions? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you don't get it. But no thumbs.
I don't know how to put thumbs on with no screen, so I'm just gonna.
Oh, okay. No thumbs is not an option.
There you go.
Raymond, which thumb are you going to give me? Thank you. Okay, so all thumbs must be involved. Okay, you are all getting thumb scores. All right, so tonic function, predominant function, dominant function, back to tonic. Okay, great. Just wanted to recap that.
What if I have no hands, Mr. O?
You can use your, if you're holding a pan of bacon, that's strange. Well, that's fine, Phil. Just maybe put it down. Okay, so moving on. we are almost ready for your next homework assignment. Are you excited? Say yay.
Yay.
It's all right. Yeah, it's all right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't wait.
What are we going to be learning in the homework assignment, Mr. O?
Oh, Caesar. Oh, good one. I like how you snuck that in there.
Thank you. I've been working on that.
Nice. Really nice. Wow. You're getting more clever with it. You will find out, Caesar. Okay, so I lost my train of thought now. I can't remember what I was saying. Oh, I was just saying that I've never heard such an excited group of young people. It's so fun. Okay, so let's talk about how you, that's right, you are going to create your own phrases. Okay, we're going to do it right now. Will you take out some sheet music? Or you can use your notation software if you're on your device. Either one is fine. Okay. Now, before you even put notes to the page, just figure out what chords you want to do. Okay? And I'm going to walk you through something real quick, and I'm going to show you how to create phrase 1 chords and phrase 3 chords. They're about the same, right? They function the same because they're both antecedents. Do you remember that? So I'm going to show you how to create phrase 1 and phrase 3 chords. Not chords, chord progressions. Sorry. By the way, I have not really explained what that term means, and I should explain it. A chord progression, actually, I'm curious if anyone knows. How would you define a chord progression? Any idea how you would define the chord progression? We've talked about it, I think, a few months ago too. Ben.
I don't remember the definition that you have, but a chord progression is it's kind of like the story behind the melody. It's what kind of complements the melody. You have melody in the right hand, and then you have kind of the bass.
Right. Yeah, that's right. It's the harmony, right? It's the movement of the harmony. That's a chord progression. Appreciate, how would you define it? Slightly differently or the same?
I was just gonna say, it's like the order of the chords in a song.
There you go. Perfect. Those are great ways to say it. That's a great way to say it. It's the order of chords is what it is. So if you start with the 1 chord and you go to the 4 and then the 5 and then the 6, your chord progression is 1, 4, 5, 6. Does that make sense? Okay, thumbs up if you get it, because that's an important one. I'm going to be using the word chord progression a lot. Good, thank you. All right, and I just ask guys. I know it's hard. You're at home. There's 1,000 different distractions going on. But if you could do your best to put everything else away, because I don't want you to miss this. This is part of your homework. Okay, great. So I'm going to teach you how to create phrase 1 chord progressions, phrase 3 chord progressions, which are basically the same, and then phrase 2 and 4. Okay, so 1 and 3 are similar, 2 and 4 are similar. And you understand why, right? Antecedent, consequent. That's the difference between them. All right, so I'm going to share my screen real quick. And if you want to pull up your notes, the updated music terminology, the one that I posted on Schoology, okay? I'm constantly making changes to it. I made more changes to it today. I'm just trying to make it as easy to understand as possible. And trying to give you as many hints in there as possible so you understand the material. So let me share my screen and let's take a look at this. Okay, are you seeing this fully?
Yeah.
Okay, good, because on my screen it's a half screen, but as long as you're seeing it fully, then I'm trying to figure out a more efficient way to, here we go. I think this is gonna work. I'm gonna keep it half and half then. Doesn't affect you. I'm just telling you what I'm doing, just for fun. You know what I miss? I miss Super Smash Brothers. I gotta play some Super Smash soon. Okay. All right. So phrase 1 and phrase 3 chords. Are you ready? I am going to read this to you. Actually, I don't want to read it. Who wants to read it? Someone else. I see Parishi's hand.
I accidentally left it up, but I'll read it.
One of those things again. You know, your hand got stuck in the air.
Yeah.
I understand. Okay, well, I won't force anyone to read this. I'll just read it real quick. A common way to create a chord progression. Oops, I can't. Hold on, sorry. because I have to scroll. There we go. A common way to create a chord progression for phrase 1 or phrase 3, because they're about the same, is to simply select 2 tonic function chords, 1 predominant function chord, and 1 dominant function chord. I'm going to say that again. 2 tonic function chords, 1 or 6, 1 predominant function chord, and 1 dominant function chord, in that order. Okay, so you're going to end up with 4 chords. The reason you want to end up with 4 chords is so that it ends up being the full duration. It would be weird to have 3 chords unless you wanted to. You could actually redo one of those chords, but you got to end up with 4 chords because we're working on 4 chord progressions. Okay, 4 chord progressions. Where was I? So you take one tonic function, 1 predominant function, and 1 dominant chord, and then you put them together with similar rhythms. For your assignment, it's going to be all half notes to make it easy. Okay. Now remember, someone read this for me, because I want another voice here. This is important. I don't want to just teach you how to do this. I want to teach you why we're doing it and why it sounds the way it sounds. Why do we do it like this? What should you remember? What does it say to remember there, Jocelyn? Can you read that for everyone, please?
Yeah, it says remember, and then something, your box is blocking it.
Oh.
Okay, remember these phrases are supposed to sound incomplete. They are the antecedents.
Exactly. They're supposed to sound incomplete. So that's why they end on the 5. Notice this here. I gave you some examples of what phrase 1 and phrase 3 chord progressions are going to look like. And it's right here. Okay, you can do a 1 chord and then a 1 chord, 4 and then 5, 1, 6, 2, 7. You can do any of these combinations. As long as you follow this right here, what I have in bold, you're going to do it right. Put them in the right order, right? So I said 2 tonic function chords. Here they are, 1 and 1. 1 predominant function chord, 4, for example, and 1 dominant function chord, 5. Now, again, this is not complete, but it's not supposed to be because it's the antecedent. Make sense? It's not supposed to be complete. It ends on a 5. It's supposed to be a half cadence, or it's supposed to end on a 7. One of the two. Okay? Great. So that's how you compose for phrase 1 and phrase 3. There are different ways to do it. I'm just giving you one, probably the most common way. Again. Okay? So for your homework, don't get too creative. Just follow the rules. Later, you'll be allowed to do all kinds of fun stuff. But right now, just follow the rules. Keep it simple. All right? Great. Here's how you create phrase 2 and phrase 4 chords. Who would like to read this for us? Let's have, no one wants to read. Let's have Fiona. Can you read that for us, please?
All right. A common way to create a chord progression for phrase 2 or phrase 4 is simply to select 1 tonic function chords, 1 predominant function chord, and 1 dominant function chord in that order, and put them together with similar rhythms, all half notes, etc. Remember, this should sound more final as they are the consequence.
Beautifully read. Thank you for emphasizing the notes. I would emphasize. Good. I mean the words. Remember, these should sound more final. So these will sound complete. Okay. Actually, I'm going to write the word complete because I wrote the word incomplete for the other one. We'll keep it consistent. So complete. Okay. Remember, these should sound more complete as they are the consequence. Okay. Great. Antecedents, phrase 1 and 3, are incomplete. They sound like they're going somewhere. They're not done. Phrases 2 and 4 add some closure to those phrases, okay, and they complete the period.
Sister, you should put a comma after the remember. Like,
oh, you're right. Thank you. Look at you. All right. You are the grammar police. I appreciate it. I am a big fan of that. Get it right. Okay, I'm going to read this now. The difference between phrases 2 and 4 and phrases 1 and 3 is that phrases 2 and 4, this looks confusing, doesn't it? I'm going to put 1 and, because that looks like 2/4. Okay, the difference between phrases 2 and 4 and phrases 1 and 3 is that phrases 2 and 4 need to end on a tonic function chord to give the melody a sense of resolution and to create a feeling of finality or closure. While I'm going to make this a little different. Hold on. Is that phrases, I should do 1 and 3 first. 1 and 3 need to end on a dominant function chord to create a sense of incompletion or suspense. While 2 and 4, and I'll post this too. Every time I make a change, I try and post it for you. Okay? Great. Now let's talk about how to create phrases 2 and 4. Okay? Here's what you do. Let's read the bold one more time. Select one tonic function chord, like this, the 1. One predominant function chord, like this, the 4. And one dominant function chord, like this, the 5. And then it says there's one last little thing. Oh, I forgot to put it. Hold on. Slam the brakes. And one dominant function chord. Good thing I caught that. One dominant function chord, and there's one more. It has to end on what kind of chord, everyone?
Tonic.
Yes, thank you. It has to end on a tonic function chord. And one tonic function chord at the end. Okay, so I'm going to read that now that it's corrected. I'm glad we fixed that. One tonic function chord, that's first. One predominant function chord, like the 4 or the 2. One dominant function chord, the 5 or the 7. And then you end on one tonic function chord at the end. And that's what I was just playing for you, right? This is a classic progression, 1, 4, 5, 1, right? That's the thing that sounds like this. Now here's the cool thing, everyone. It's not just that, because that sounds kind of hokey, right? Not all music sounds like that. In fact, most of it doesn't. It uses some substitutions. Again, I'm going to use this language. I want you to get used to it. Chord substitutions are, again, when you substitute one chord for another chord, if both chords are in the same function family, okay? So you can substitute the 2 for the 4 because they're basically the same. They're common chords, and they're both predominant. They function the same way. You can substitute the 5 for the 7 because they're both dominant. They function the same way. You can substitute the 1 for the 6 or the 6 for the 1. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So those are chord substitutions. So instead of doing 1, 4, 5, I'm going to do some chord substitutions. I'm going to do 6 because that's a chord substitution for 1. Yeah, are you following me? I'm going to do this. Can you all still see the word document?
Yeah.
Okay, now listen to this. This is where your whole life's going to come together in music theory. Watch this. All I'm going to do is take what I've taught you and I'm going to shift it around with different combinations. And listen if you've heard these chord progressions before. I'm going to go 6. Be lowercase. Don't correct me. Okay, 6, and then I'm going to go 4. Okay, and then I'm going to go 5, and then I'm going to go 6. This is following the order. 6 is a tonic function chord, 4 is a predominant, 5 is a dominant, and 6 is another tonic function chord. Okay, now listen to this chord progression. It has a totally different feel than what I just played. What I just played was all happy and upbeat and honky-tonky. But this is totally different. Listen to this. Yeah, I could also change this for a 1 and actually give it a little bit of closure at the end. 6, 4, 5, 1. Doesn't that sound like a chord? That sounds like a chord progression you've probably heard before, right? Yeah? Have you all heard something like that in pop music and songs you've heard? So what I'm saying is, you see where the pop music is getting its chords from? It's getting it from this theory right here. A lot of them don't know that, which is fine. You don't have to know it to write a song, but it's kind of cool to know it. Now you have some perspective. Oh, that's why these chords work together, right? Here's another really common chord progression you've probably heard. all that was 6-4-1-5, right? It doesn't totally follow the rules that we have here, but it follows most of them. 6, tonic function chord, 4, predominant chord, and then it just flips the last two. That's all it does. So it does tonic function chord 1 and then 5 instead of this here, okay? But do you see how if you get the basis of how to do this, you're going to be able to do anything off of it, but you kind of know what you need to do to make it sound good. For some reason, this is what sounds good to the human ear, and this is why this is what we're studying in theory. Does that make sense what I'm saying to you? Okay, great.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so
Yeah.
awesome. So let's recap, and then we're going to start to work on your assignments, and I'm going to give you the instruction for your homework. Okay, so here's what you're going to be doing in your homework. You are going to be creating 4 phrases. Okay, I think I put 2 down here, but it needs to be 4. 4 because you have all weekend to do it. So you're going to create 4 phrases. Okay, just like I've taught you to do it. Phrase 1, phrase 2, phrase 3, phrase 4. Phrase 1 is the antecedent, phrase 2 is the consequent, right? Phrase 1 is going to end on a half cadence, okay? And can you still see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so phrase 1, feel free to use any one of the progressions I provided, or if you want to do your own, there are lots of different combinations because you can use chord substitutions, right? So look here, you could do 1, 1, 4, 5, or you could do 1, 6, 4, 5. Listen to this, everyone. I know you've heard this 1,000 times. This is the classic doo-wop chord progression. 1, 6, 4, 5. All it is a phrase 1 cadence. All it is a phrase 1 chord progression. Listen to it. 1, 6, 4, 5. Have you all heard that before? Do 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 do. It's
Never
just
in my life.
that's just doo-wop, right?
Sounds like Earth Angel.
What?
No, it sounds like a song I've heard.
Okay, honestly, a lot of pop songs use that chord progression, but they didn't pull it out of thin air. This is where they got it from. Does it make sense? This is the theory behind that, why that chord progression sounds so pleasing to us. Da, 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 da. It's because it's taken from these phrase 1 and phrase 3 chords, okay? So you can use chord substitutions. You can create any 4-chord progression you want as long as it follows what I have laid out here for you in bold. Please don't get super creative. Keep it simple, okay? On the theory tests and stuff, they don't care if you're super, this is not a test of creativity, unfortunately, everyone. I'm sorry. You can be creative later in your lives, but right now you have to learn the basics and the theory so that your creativity doesn't get out of hand. You got to learn how to keep it in the bounds so that things still sound good. You can't break the rules until you know them. Mia, yes?
How many are we supposed to create? Sorry.
You're going to make 4 phrases.
Okay.
So for example, you could do phrase 1, chord progression like this. And then phrase 2, I'm going to go down here, and you could just, you could literally use my examples. I don't mind that at all, as long as you understand what you're doing, okay? If you want to create your own ones, fine, as long as you're following the rules and as long as you're doing the proper chord substitutions, that's fine, okay? But I've even provided examples. I just want you to get used to seeing what that looks like in real music, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to create a 4-part, like we're used to doing, soprano, alto, tenor, bass. Make sense? You're going to create 4-part harmonies that move through these chord progressions, okay? Each chord is going to be a half note. So let's do the math. You need 4 phrases. Each phrase has 4 chords. What's the math? How many chords?
16.
Right. So each phrase has 4 chords, and you're going to need 16 chords, okay? So I'll put that in here also. 4 parts for a total of, it's actually 8 measures. Each phrase should be 2 measures. Let me show you how I'm doing this. Oh, sorry, Mia, I want to answer your question real quick. So just to give you the one-liner of what your assignment is. You're going to create a 4-phrase chord progression. You're going to write it in 4 parts, SATB, okay? The melody doesn't have to be beautiful, or I don't care about the melody right now because we haven't talked about melody yet. So just make the chords work. Okay, if you want to make a pretty melody on top on soprano, add some non-chord tones and some little eighth notes and stuff, go for it. But you don't have to. Okay, you can just do half notes if you want. Okay, it's going to be 4 phrases. Every chord is going to be a half note, a total of 16 chords. Okay, and you have to follow the rules. So phrase 1 is going to follow these rules here. Phrase 2 is going to follow these rules here. Phrase 3 is going to follow these rules here. And phrase 4 is going to follow these rules down here. Make sense? So you're just alternating the rules. You can think of it that way. Okay? Now, let me show you the thing. Remember the thing I showed you that I made up just for the class? Let me stop sharing for a second. New share, let me share this. Okay, so this is what your final assignment's going to end up looking like. It is going to look like the following. Maybe I shrink this down. Okay, it's going to look like the following. First off, do not worry about making a fancy melody. Okay, we're going to add that next week. So just lay out the chords right now, and then we'll make the melody next week. Does that make sense what I'm saying to you? So you'll still have a melody. You're still going to have a soprano line, but you don't have to do it like I did, where it's its own little da 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 da. It doesn't have to be any kind of catchy melody. If you feel like you understand the melody enough to get started on that, go for it, and we can just change it next week and make it better. But right now, all you need to have. So what you're going to have, since I want to be really clear. What you're going to have is just going to look like this. I have my chords on the bottom, C, A minor, D, G. You can write the letters, or you can write the numerals, okay? You can write the letters or the numerals. Make sense? I don't care for right now, okay? As long as you know that C is 1 and A minor is 6, that's what I want you to do. Okay, I'd actually like if you wrote both. I think that would be the best way to do it. So you establish what your chord progressions are going to be. Here's phrase 1, and I decided on 1, 6, 2, 5. Great. Now I'm just going to fill in my parts like we do in class. 1, 6. Okay. I'm following all of my normal doubling rules. I am following the rules of voice leading, so I don't want parallel fifths. I don't want parallel octaves. I'm doing my best to do that. Okay, get in that habit because the test wants that. Okay, so this measure right here, everyone. Hold on, where's my pointer? This. These measures here is what your homework's going to look like. Make sense? This is an example of what the whole thing's going to look like. All it has to be is chords on half notes. All right, and you're going to end up with 16 chords. Okay, and you're going to follow the phrases. So phrase 1, phrase 2, phrase 3, phrase 4. You'll end up with 16 chords, and you'll end up with chord progressions on the bottom. Does it make sense how we create chord progressions? Does it make sense what your homework is? Give me a thumbs up. I see some hands, so let me go over here. Okay, let me get some hands. Fiona.
So it doesn't matter if it's either on the computer or on paper, you just want, okay.
Yeah, either one is fine. The only thing about the computer is you have to have a way to export it to me because I need to, you need to submit it as an assignment.
Right, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay.
So, okay.
So if you want, I'm okay with this so long as the quality is good. If you want to do it on the computer because it's easier to do that, and guys, here's why I like the computer. And Ben and other people, Phil, who have composed music, the reason I like the computer, you guys will probably agree with me, is that you can play it back and you can listen to it, which is really fun. This is where it actually comes to life, right? If I were to just have you write everything like we've been doing, we haven't had a lot of practice to really write it and then hear it. It is so cool. Isn't that the coolest part, guys who compose? The coolest part is to actually hear it back and go, oh, I like that, right? So I really, really encourage you. Yeah, so Phil's saying yes, right? I mean, imagine, Phil, if you wrote all this music and never listened to it. You're like, well, I hope that sounds good, right? There's a disconnect there, right? So
especially
really
if it's
want
something that you can't play, like
especially if you don't have a piano and you can't play it or you can't play it on an instrument. So we're going to now move to composition where you really become composers and songwriters. And the most important part of this is to be able to listen back to it and say, do I like that or not? Do I want to make a change? You don't know the answer to that question until you know what it sounds like. So that's why I really, really encourage you use a notation software. Okay, let me answer a few more questions. Oh, sorry, what I was going to say is what you can do is you can write it on your software, and then you can usually export to PDF, or you can export to some kind of file that I can read and send it to me. If that doesn't work, I'm okay with you actually taking a picture with your phone and sending me the picture. Does that make sense? So long as the quality is good, I am totally fine with that. If you want to write it on your screen and then go ahead and take a picture of it, scroll, take a picture of it, right? Just as long as I can see all 16 bars clearly and it's not blurry, that's totally fine with me. Okay? And you just upload the picture. All right? It's more important to me that you have it on a notation software and that you become familiar with notation software so that you can learn to listen back to your work and you are engaged in the composition process. Aitana, you've got a hand up.
Yes. When is this due?
This is going to be due Tuesday.
Okay.
Okay, so you've got, about 5 days. Caesar.
I was just gonna question, is it okay if you write it in different keys?
Yes, good question. I prefer C major for those of you especially who are not super familiar with this. I think it's better for you and it's better for me. But if you think you get it and you want to do another key, it's totally fine, as long as you write the key signature in, okay? Let me show you something real quick, and then I'll answer the other questions, because this is really important. If you, by the way, I can't give you a tutorial on the notation software you're using, because it's totally different than the one I'm using, probably. So go on YouTube. If you don't know how to create this, a 4-part, I created a track with piano. Usually you can just put piano, and it'll give you a bass clef and a treble clef. That's all you need. As long as you got a bass clef and a treble clef, figure out how to do that. Go on YouTube, figure it out for yourself. Be proactive. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put it in C major, or you can put it in another key. Okay? It's totally okay if you do another key, but listen, I do not want accidentals on the individual notes. I'm going to say that again. I don't want accidentals all throughout the individual notes. That's way too much work for you, and it's totally unnecessary. Just there's a setting in every program that allows you to change the key. Just change the whole key like this. Okay? All right? Now it actually just transposed it for me, which is great. So I just moved this whole thing into D major. Okay? Totally fine. You can do it in C, you can do it in D, you can do it in A flat. I don't care. All right? It can be major or minor. I would stick to major right now because it's easier, but you could do either one. All right? Great. Any other questions on your homework? I see a hand with Chloe.
So my software is kind of weird because it's on the demo version, and it won't let me do chords within a single measure. So I have to write out the 4 parts individually. So there's 2 treble clefs and 2 bass clefs.
Oh, okay. So it's like open score.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay.
If you want to do that, that's fine. Or if you want to look for a software that, because that might make it hard for you down the road. If you want, I know you couldn't get this one, but what was the one I told you about, Casmi, where you can go on the browser? Did you try it?
Noteflight.
It's called Noteflight.
Yeah, Noteflight. If you guys don't know what this is, have you checked it out yet, Casmi?
I was the other day.
Okay, so if you can go look up Noteflight, it's kind of cool. You should be able to do all of the stuff we need to do on there, and it's free, and you just do it through the browser, okay? So try that. It might be easier than your current program, or if you want to do what's called open score, which is where they're each their own staff, that's fine too. Mia.
Can we still do it on plain staff paper, or do you absolutely want it on the notation software?
Yeah, it's fine if you want to do it on staff paper. I want you to be able to, I want you to have some way to be able to listen back to it, because when you're composing, I want you to make creative artistic decisions like, oh, I like this better than that, or I don't like that melody, I'm going to change it. And if it's on staff paper, it's kind of hard to do that. But if you just couldn't find a program you liked that didn't work for you, you want to do staff paper, maybe you have a friend who can play it for you on the piano, or you can play it on the piano, or you can play the melody on your instrument. As long as you have a way to play the melody, that's what I care the most about.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Any other questions on your homework? Okay, and I wrote it here, so let me just read it one more time, because this. Oh, Helena.
So if we're submitting it on our like for the software, do we just send you the PDF or the MP3?
I would love a PDF for right now. Later on, if you can do this, for your final projects, I would love, which we'll talk about later. They're not that long. Basically, just making a 4-phrase song, and you're gonna, if you can put lyrics to it, if we get that far. But after the AP test, to answer your question from last time, Mia, I want us to write music. That's my goal. I thought about it a lot, and I thought about what's going to be the coolest thing for us to do. I think we're going to write some music. And so after the AP test, we're going to really dig into this even more than we are right now. We're going to start to talk about how do you put lyrics to a song. There are right and wrong ways to do that. You got to think about the text stress and the accents. How do you add moving parts in the other lines? All the cool stuff. How do you add dynamics? Where do you put this? Where do you put fermatas? We're going to talk about how to compose music after the test. Okay. Everyone say yay.
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 We're also going to talk about like composing orchestral style.
You know what? That's hard because, and I don't know if we have enough time for it, but we can probably touch on it. Orchestral style is really cool, and I love it. But in college, that was a full 2-semester class because it's so detailed. Because you have to know the ranges of all the instruments. You have to know the timbres of the instruments. You have to know the tendencies of the instruments. You also have to know all of the transposition of the instruments. And that's the hardest part. Because then you have to memorize, okay, this is a B flat instrument, the horn's an F instrument. You know, it is like, it's a lot of information. So we probably won't get to too much of that just because we don't have a bunch of time. But we might be able to touch it at the very end if we have time. So, but it's very, very complex. It's the highest level of composing, obviously. But I can give you some pointers and tips and then kind of point you in the right direction so you know where to go to look for more information. Okay. Aitana, you have a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, can we write the chords in any key signature?
Yep. And so any key signature is fine. That's like I was telling Caesar. So you could do C major, D major, A flat major, whatever you want. Stick with a major key right now. Unless you really think you get this and you're fairly advanced and you want to do a minor key, go for it. But you're going to run into a couple weird things because remember that sharp 7, because we're going to use harmonic minor. So you just have to make sure that all your chords are falling in line with harmonic minor. The chords that I've given you here, all of this stuff, everyone, are major chords. I'm sorry, are major key chords. These are chords for the major keys. Okay. Some of them overlap for the minor keys, but not all of them. All right. So just keep that in mind. You can do any key, Aitana. I would just prefer major. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Carmen. Do you have a question, Carmen?
Oh, no. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay. I just see your hand. Any other questions? Helena, I see your hand.
Oh wait, no, I think that was just for my last question, but it's all good now.
Okay, got it. Your hand got stuck in the air. Let me
Yeah.
lower you. Here I will lower your hand for you. I'm coming with
Oh,
mine.
okay, there we go.
To lower your virtual hand. Okay, great. Okay. Cool. So that is your homework for Tuesday, everyone. Once you have a solid grasp on how to do these phrases and how these chord progressions work, then we can start to move on and talk about melody. And that's my favorite part because melody is what everyone knows in music. It's what you sing, right? It's what stays in your head. So I'm going to teach you all of these terms here, all of what it means to write a melody, to understand the range, the tessitura, how to write a good melody. There's all kinds of good rules. And for those who don't know, I have probably haven't told you this, but I used to be a pretty avid songwriter and choral composer. I used to write for high schools and colleges, and I used to do it on commission, and I get paid like a couple $1,000 for certain pieces. And it was really, I'm not bragging. What I'm saying to you is that I really have a passion. I really love this part of it. And so it's really fun. You're going to find how fun it is to create melodies, make a melody you like, and then put a chord progression underneath it that follows all the rules. And you think, wow, look at this, I wrote a song. So that's kind of where we're headed. I'm very excited for that. We're going to talk about all the variation techniques in writing a melody, melodic part writing, and then we're going to write our own music. So we are very close, everyone. We are closing in. And that's it. That's pretty much for the rest of the semester. Then we'll take about the 2 weeks prior to the AP test to just review everything for the whole year. Okay. During that time, I'm going to host extra sessions. So I know you probably won't be able to make all of them, but I'm probably going to host some Saturday sessions, like 2-hour sessions. And our goal is just to run through, basically we'll have our tests that we've used all year. We're going to run through every single problem and make sure that we know how to do it. Make sense? Give me a thumbs up if you understand everything I just said.
I can't give a thumbs up, but I can give verbal positivity.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good. Okay, so I am going to refine the wording of this homework assignment here, and I'm going to post this on your notes. The homework is listed right here. Okay, I'm also going to make a separate assignment with this as the instructions. Okay, and so that'll be due. When is that due, everyone?
Tuesday.
Tuesday. That's right. As my grandma and I say, Tuesday. Oh, next Tuesday. Okay, so I'm going to read this one more time for you. Compose a 4-phrase harmonic progression in 4 parts, SATB. You know how to do that. Each phrase should be 2 measures for a total of 8 measures and 16 chords. Okay, and each chord should be a half note. All right. Oh, actually, I'll just put that here. Measures. Each chord should be a half note. Total of 16 chords. You need to follow the rules above and can use the chord progressions. Oh, I'll say may. And may use the chord progressions above, comma, and this way Fiona doesn't get mad at me. Okay, you need to follow the rules above, and you may use the chord progressions listed as examples or create your own as long as they follow the guidelines. Follow, let me say this real quick. Yeah, that's fine. Follow proper voice leading rules and feel free to include NCTs in the melody. What does NCT stand for?
Non-chord
tones.
Right. So if you want to create a melody like I did here in my finale, if you want to create a melody that has non-chord tones and all that other stuff, go for it. If you feel comfortable doing that, we haven't talked about how to make a good melody yet, but if you have a general idea of how to do that, you want to try it, go for it. And then we will correct it next week as we start to break down how to write a good melody. Okay? That's it. Are there any final questions on your homework assignment? How it's due, how to turn it in?
Actually, Mr. I have a quick question.
Yeah, Fiona.
The only homework that we have is the creating of the
phrases.
Of the phrases, right? That's
yeah.
it.
You guys will notice there was that 11.2 assignment. We didn't quite get to that yet. Hold on to it. We're going to get to it. I just wanted to get through this material first. After we finish this, we're going to try and circle back to 11.2, and that'll probably be due by next Friday.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay, next Thursday or next Friday. But remind me to talk about that next Tuesday if I forget. But for right now, only do this, okay?
Wait, was the packet the one that we did last time that we didn't do? I think it was
Yeah, that's 11.2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's 11.2. Okay, so don't worry about that. We will get to that. All
Okay.
right? That's it for today, everyone. We're ending a little early. Do you have any questions? Any final questions?
How's your day?
So far, pretty good. I feel like we had a good class. I hope you'll understand what I'm talking about with chord progressions and how to make the phrases work. I'm excited for where we're headed. It's all about to culminate. And otherwise, I'm about to have a chorale meeting in 45 minutes. I'm going to go eat some food and just hang out a little bit. I've been watching Clone Wars.
Oh, how is it?
So good.
What season? Are you on the final season, or are you just like?
No, I just started, and Josh told me that I have to watch in order, so I looked up.
Oh yeah, because it's an anthology, so it's pretty much out of order.
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out the right order. So that's been fun.
He has a picture, I think, of the order.
Yeah.
Do you send it to you?
Well, I also found it online. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I hope you're all doing well. Take care of yourself. Get good sleep. Drink a lot of water. And just keep working hard. We're almost done, everyone. AP test is in a month. Crazy, huh? So we've got some work to do. We just have to cover melody and then recap all the information. All right. So work hard, don't fall behind, and thanks for being here. I'm going to let you go now. If you have any questions, send me a message on Schoology. This assignment is due Tuesday, and I'm going to post this PDF and the assignment instructions on there right now. Cool. Everyone give me a thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Great. Okay. Bye, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Bye, Mr. O.
Bye, Mr. O.
Bye, Mr. O. Thank you so much, Mr. O.
Wait, Lance, what are you doing here?
Wait, Les, yeah, what the heck? Is that your voice?
So,
why are you here?
I've been in here the entire time.
Lance, you're not in AP Music Theory.
Wait, that's so weird.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
Yes,
Well,
I am.
Why have you been in here?
Lance, feel free to enjoy theory whenever you want. Nice to see you.
Oh, yeah.
He has broken multiple
It's
war
literally
crimes.
40
Arrest him
minutes.
under the name of the Geneva Conventions.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna make the melody the lick.
Oh, the lick?
Dua.
No, 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 no.
Oh,
All right.
yeah.
Bye, everyone. Have a great weekend. I'm going to close the chat now.
He broke the Geneva Conventions. No.